Hi and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Debbie Lyons. I'm here today with Kelly Presnell, Director of Public Relations and Marketing here at Hilton Head Hospital. This is going to be a fun show today.
Yes, Elizabeth Huggins, she's our certified diabetes educator who is here to talk about her program that she offers here and the community programs that we're offering for education. You know, that's part of our mission, is to educate the community on health and wellness, and diabetes is certainly a topic of interest to a lot of people.
You've got a couple of events coming up too.
We do. We have started a pre-diabetes education class that has been very popular. We offer that regularly each month, and also an event that has become an annual tradition for us to talk specifically about diabetes and for people that have diabetes. So we're bringing in some experts that can talk about their own personal experiences.
Which is amazing, yes.
And then, you know, an endocrinologist to speak specifically about diabetes, can answer questions, and then Elizabeth, of course, our educator, to talk about nutrition.
And I think what's exciting about that, when we were talking a little bit before, she said she's going to chat a little bit about other lifestyle things other than food that I think will make it really interesting.
I think that's great.
So let's talk to Elizabeth.
Excuse me. Hi, can I get through, please?
Dr. Newton.
You know, there has to be a better way. A way to skip the ER waiting room. Like this lady over here. All she did was log on to inquicker.com to hold her son's place in line. Now they can wait at home and skip the ER waiting room. Now, which would you choose? This or this? Hold your place online at inquicker.com and skip the ER waiting room. Ooh, is that hot cocoa? Oh, help yourself.
Pain. It can be different things for different people. A shoulder that takes you out of the game. A knee that stops you in your tracks. Ready to return to a better you? Hilton Head Hospital is here, right in the Low Country, to help heal what hurts. From diagnosis to treatment to full recovery, our fellowship-trained orthopedic specialists are committed to getting you back to your best. Hilton Head Hospital. Extraordinary care right here at home.
It is always fun to talk to Elizabeth Huggins, and as Kelly said, we've got a lot going on in November, which is Diabetes Month. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us today, and let's talk about an event that you all have coming up.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm really happy to be here to share this information. November is Diabetes Month, and basically it's a time where we can educate people on diabetes, what the disease is and how to control it, but also just awareness, because a lot of people don't know anything about it, or they have a lot of misunderstandings.
And I think that's what I hear. I hear the word diabetes thrown around so often. In fact, I was getting a facial the other day and the little girl's pregnant. She's like, I think I have gestational diabetes. And I'm like, and what does that mean? And I don't think she really understood. What are the three or four different kinds of diabetes? And just as a broad spectrum overview, what are they?
Okay, that's a really good question. So we've thought of type 1 forever as juvenile diabetes. It's autoimmune, and the body doesn't produce insulin.
Period.
So no insulin, or so little that insulin therapy is the only treatment.
Okay.
So whether it's delivered through injection, through a pump, in the past we've tried inhalable insulin, and that didn't do so well, but it might be coming back in a slightly different form.
And let me ask you just even a more broad spectrum question is, why is insulin important? What does it do?
Okay, so insulin is a hormone that our body should naturally produce.
Okay.
I think a lot of times by word association, if you say insulin, people think of shots, injections, bad things.
Yes.
They don't think of it being a hormone that their body should produce, but it's what controls our blood sugar. So if we sit down and we eat this apple, our body starts digesting it, our blood glucose starts to go up, our body should produce insulin to get that sugar into storage into the cells. So it's basically, insulin is a chemical messenger. So if your body doesn't produce it, the sugar doesn't get into the cells.
And why is it important that the sugar gets into the cells? I mean, why does our body need
Well,
that?
that's where it needs to go to be utilized properly. And if it doesn't go there, if there's too much in our bloodstream, that's where you hear about the bad complications that occur over time.
Okay.
But it's not just the bad complications that you hear. I like to emphasize the here and now when you're really tired because your blood sugars are high. Maybe somebody starts experiencing blurry vision,
Yes.
frequent urination that's waking them up a lot at night. Those are all symptoms. Now, type 1 is different
Gotcha.
from type 2.
Okay.
So type 1, the body doesn't
produce insulin.
Right, and it's autoimmune.
Gotcha.
We're
Type-
still trying to figure out what causes it. There's a genetic component, but they also feel there's an environmental trigger. In terms of type 2, it's a broad spectrum. So we know early on, even before the diagnosis, a person can have high insulin levels. High.
Okay.
But they also have high insulin resistance, which means their body's not using insulin properly.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
basically, if you don't use insulin properly, your body tries to adapt. It just produces more.
Okay.
But that doesn't last forever. So eventually, the pancreas starts to fizzle out, if you want to kind of say it's slang.
Right, exactly. So we understand, yeah.
That's about the time that you'll really start to see blood glucose levels going up, is when the body in type 2 just can't produce enough insulin.
Do I feel bad if I have type 2 diabetes and don't recognize it? Am I experiencing symptoms that I may just feel become normal?
Sure.
Is that true?
Yes, and I see some people will have blood sugars in the 300s and they say, Elizabeth, I feel fine. I don't know what the big deal about this is. Other people are more sensitive and they'll say, I don't feel good, and maybe their blood sugars are in the 170s. But it can be really deceptive because you can feel fine, or a lot of people will attribute those symptoms to aging.
And I was going to say, and
Or I
while
work really hard and I'm tired, and so they don't recognize those symptoms.
And while we're talking about type 2 diabetes, is there a demographic or a group of folks who are more susceptible to type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
Okay.
Certainly within different ethnic populations, so Latinos are at greater risk,
Interesting.
African Americans,
Okay.
actually Asians, but also people that have had a lot of birthdays.
Oh, that would be
So,
as we age. is
if
what
you
she's-
look at the statistics, you can actually go to the American Diabetes Association, their website. It's
Okay.
just diabetes.org. They have a lot of great information, but if you look at 60 years and above, the risk of having diabetes, 1 out of 4, roughly.
just turned 60. Really? One
1
out of 4?
out of 4, roughly.
My
That's
pan-
a lot.
My pancreas isn't working as well. I exercise less. My lifestyle choices are slack.
You got it.
All
I've
of the
put on a
above.
little weight,
Okay.
and I'm living maybe a more enjoyable lifestyle, and I eat out a little more. I'm eating the wrong types of foods, those types of things. But also just simply aging.
Aging,
With
period.
my body isn't producing insulin as well as it used to.
And just touching on gestational diabetes and what that is, because I definitely want to go back to the event that you all are having, which is now an annual event.
Right.
But let's go ahead. Gestational diabetes then is?
Gestational is just during pregnancy. Now, sometimes I'll meet women that have type 2 diabetes and now they're pregnant, but gestational, they didn't have diabetes before their pregnancy. But hormonally, if just simply the state of being pregnant causes your body to have to produce more insulin. Well, if those women genetically, they can't produce enough insulin, once they get somewhere 24, 26 weeks, 28 weeks, they start to see that their blood sugars run high.
Okay. Makes
You
sense.
got it. Prediabetes is basically before you develop type 2.
Okay.
Statistically, there's something like 79 million people out there in the United States that are waiting in the wing.
Wow.
With prediabetes. So anyway, speaking of prediabetes.
Yes, the event that you're
Yes.
doing. Okay.
We have 2 different events. On November 5th, which is a Tuesday, here at the hospital, 5 o'clock, we're going to do a session on prediabetes.
And what will that look like?
It will be about an hour and 15 minutes,
Okay.
and we're going to go over just the basics of what is diabetes and help people understand how lifestyle, the things they can do to prevent diabetes. My happiest days are at work are when I get a phone call and somebody says, Elizabeth, I went back to see my doctor, and guess what?
I'm fine.
My blood sugars are back to normal.
It's pretty
So
exciting.
you can do a lot.
So again, this would be an event that really allows us to be proactive with our health and wellness.
That's right, and that's the best place to begin because as diabetes progresses, it gets harder. But early on, there's a lot you can do lifestyle to prevent it.
Now the second event is going to be, you're going to have testimonial and a keynote speaker?
It's I'm really excited about it. It's going to be at the Country Club of Hilton Head.
Okay.
It's a really nice venue. It will be from 9 in the morning as far as when the first speaker starts, 9 until noon. And we have a great lineup. Elizabeth Millen will be our opening speaker.
She looks amazing and is so healthy now.
Yeah, she, every so often it seems like I run into her at the grocery store. Anyway, she looks great.
Is she at the periphery of the grocery store that you taught me?
Actually, when I saw her, I don't think we were, but that's okay.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm really excited to have her open it up. She's got great information to share about her journey. I'm going to do a session on myths and facts related to nutrition and diabetes to hopefully clear up some confusion. And you know, certainly in the media, there's always eat this, don't eat this, and it really gets to be confusing.
Exactly. The Krispy Kreme donut diet will cure you of everything. I'm
Hopefully
like,
nobody's
what?
ever
I know.
fallen for that one.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, we'll have that session, then we'll take a little break, and then we'll get back to business. I am teaming up with Delisa Staten. She is an insulin pump
Rep? Or,
well, I wouldn't say rep. She's the manager for the Charleston area.
Perfect.
And anyway, she's going to share some information about insulin pumps and insulin sensors. Before we kind of get into the more detailed information, and that's focused on type 1, we will cover what's out there as far as apps and resources.
Oh, that's going to be great. We're going to take a break, and we got about 30 seconds, and I want to come back. We're going to talk about apps on your phone that can help. We're going to talk a little bit about food, but interestingly enough, what Elizabeth and I are really going to talk about are other behavior and lifestyle changes that can really affect your health and wellness. Stick with us. We'll be right back here on Healthy Living.
Pain. It can be different things for different people. A shoulder that takes you out of the game. A knee that stops you in your tracks. Ready to return to a better you? Hilton Head Hospital is here, right in the Lowcountry, to help heal what hurts. From diagnosis to treatment to full recovery, our fellowship-trained orthopedic specialists are committed to getting you back to your best. Hilton Head Hospital. Extraordinary care right here at home.
Hilton Head Regional Medical Center is located at 25 Hospital Center Boulevard. When traveling east on William Hilton Parkway, make a left-hand turn on Beach City Road, and the next left, Hospital Center Boulevard will be located just past the Hilton Head Library.
Coastal Carolina Hospital is located on US 278 at Exit 8 on I-95. Telephone is 843-784-8000. On the web, www.coastalhospital.com.
The vision for Hilton Head Spine Center is very clear. It's to provide world-class spine care to our patients.
Physical therapists were there. They were there holding you up. It's nice.
I just love working with all of these patients and their families and getting to know them and helping them on their journey.
My life is definitely better, and I'm glad that I came here to Hilton Head Hospital.
We are back here on Healthy Living. We are here with Elizabeth Huggins, and we're talking about diabetes, the 3 different kinds. it's going to be interesting in this segment because we're taking a little shift from events and really from talking about diabetes, specifically the disease, and talking about treatment, interventions, and preventions, which is a lot of fun. We were talking before the break about apps. There are phone apps for everything.
That's right. So at our program on November 9th, we're also going to have a special session, and it's really geared for both people that are perhaps pre-diabetes or they have type 2, but also we'll have a session at the end of that session focusing on the tools for people that
resources
have,
and tools, exactly.
And also people that have type 1, because I always want to offer both pieces, not just type 2, but definitely type 1. So as far as tools, there are all sorts of great tools if you have a smartphone or even just a computer. So everything from fitness type of apps that have to deal with nutrition. MyFitnessPal, I like that one. It's a great one.
Okay.
I have a lot of people that call it their reality check when it comes to what they're eating. So we'll talk about some just general nutrition apps, fitness apps, things like the Fitbits that are out there.
Fitbits, I like that. If you were to actually divide up in order of importance, or I don't know if divide up, but give us sort of an outline and a protocol of what I should be thinking about if I have diabetes, what would that look like? And what I'm really asking is, you know, when I think of diabetes, I think of the food I eat will control my diabetes, period. And what you and I talked about was absolutely, that is a part of it, but not the only part. What are some other things?
You know,
and you love this.
I think that's almost a loaded question, where it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Okay.
Because some people have a lot of motivation, they just don't have good education towards diabetes, and once they have that education, they're off and running. Other people have a lot of knowledge about nutrition, but it's all the behavioral things. You know, I'm a busy mom, I don't have time for this.
Right.
And you
all
know,
the
so
excuses,
I mean, there's
all the excuses that we use.
That's right. Or you know, just simply my doctor has prescribed this medication, but perhaps they didn't quite understand how the medication works, and they're not using it, maximizing, not taking it at the right time. Or maybe they just don't realize it really matters. They always say, if you don't take a medication, it's never going to work. Right.
Exactly.
So I do want to mention on November 9th also our final speaker, I'm really excited, Dr. Orland Sergev, he's an endocrinologist. He'll be wrapping up our program, and he's also going to allow time for question answer, so people that have questions about whether it's medications or their prescription, he'll be answering those, of course, as appropriate.
Exactly. And you know, as is typical in many things, it oftentimes doesn't matter, Elizabeth, who the physician is that talks to us, what we're talking about. It comes down to take your medication as directed, be compliant, but also lifestyle choices. Talk to me, if you will, a little bit. Let's go lifestyle choices first with food.
Okay.
All right.
So with food, a lot of it is knowledge, and there's definitely willpower as well. I mean, people enjoy food, and that's the hard thing because food affects your blood sugar. So, you know, a lot of times the foods that we so enjoy really can elevate our blood sugar. But the first step is understanding, having a good basis of how things are going to affect your sugar. I have to talk about this for a second. So Humex. This might not be something that people typically drink, but I see a lot of Latinos that drink that, and you know, they just look at it as kind of a good fruit drink that's healthy. Once they understand how much sugar is in there, it's crazy. You know, if you look at that, I think it's 75 grams of carbohydrate.
What is that? Can you just give us an overview of like how many carbohydrates you need per day?
Well, you know, with that, I'm going to say no, because it is so individual. I will see people that do very well on a lower carb diet. I see people that do well kind of moderate, and then there's people out there that they follow a vegetarian diet, which tends to be a lot higher in carbs, and they do well. So there's absolutely not a one size fits all.
Which is the best news ever.
It is.
I mean, it really is, because I can then I guess what I hear you saying is I can basically come in and say, I really love fruits and vegetables. I'm not so wild about chicken and fish. Can you help tailor and I hate to call it diet. Can you help tailor a plan, a lifestyle plan for me? Using what I love to do.
What definitely works out the best in that case is when people are really involved in their own care.
Yes.
I know that sounds strange, but a lot of times I'll have people come in that say, please help me, and they don't bring in their food record.
Okay.
You know, it's like starting from scratch, and you know, that's where it's really important to be involved in your care.
It's ownership.
It is, it is. And you know, I don't know if sometimes people just assume, I mean, we all have to eat something. And so I think sometimes people get very hung up in, quote, diet.
Okay.
I do want to talk about some other things
Please.
as far as, I had mentioned apps.
Yes.
And
Don't you
there
love it?
is a neat little app out there. It's new. It's called Goal Tracker. And
Goal
so
Tracker.
it
Okay.
is put out by the American Association of Diabetes Educators. And as you can see, it's
Wow.
not just food. It's looking at everything from healthy eating, being active, monitoring your blood sugar, or it might be monitoring your blood pressure or your A1C, taking medications, problem solving. That's
Which I
a big
love.
one. Problem solving is huge. Healthy coping. A lot of
Stress,
people don't
emotions,
like
yes.
to get into that one, but it's big. And then reducing our risk. So that's things like smoking cessation, making sure you get in and you have your dental exam, routine cleaning. So these are all behaviors that ultimately, the behaviors are the things that lead us to a healthier lifestyle.
So when I come in for a consultation, again, is it helpful for you to know that I like to work out at the gym, I like to spin, or I like to walk, or I like to...
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, well, or I would love to, but I don't really do that. I mean, whatever
but,
it is.
you know, for example, let's say you had type 1 diabetes and you really enjoy going to the gym, but your timing is off with the way you take your insulin. And let's say every time after you do that, you have a low sugar, and then you have a low sugar, and instead of, for example, these are over here, these are some different things you might take to treat it.
Okay.
You could eat food, but a lot of times with food, people don't just drink a little juice, they drink a big tall glass of juice and go from being maybe in their 50s to now they're up 300 with their blood sugar. So, you know, once again, it'd be great to know that you go to the gym, but then I want you to come in with your record of what medications do you take, how much do you take. So record keeping is important, and once again, that's another app that we'll talk about that can kind of, you know, pull it all together to make it easier.
Is the ultimate goal for you and I as patient and consultant or facilitator for my diabetes not to define me, but to sort of, like a chronic disease, sort of integrated into my life as just a small piece of it?
That's it. I mean, we're all people, and we all want to be considered people, not, quote, diabetics. I don't like to use the word diabetics, and I know sometimes that, you know, people might go whatever, but, you know, it's a person that has diabetes, and so you're right, we don't want to be defined by our disease. I do have to say, you know, I've met some people that say, you know, once I decided I was just going to do the things I needed to, you know, no, I'm never going to like taking pills, or I'm never going to like taking my shots, but you know what, I'm just going to do it and then move on with what I need to do that day. They said it became easier than fighting it all the time, not taking, you know, perhaps a shot because they were at a restaurant and it might be embarrassing, and then later they're kind of paying for it in a sense with high sugars and trying to catch up or just feeling bad.
For people who have type 2 diabetes, is it possible through lifestyle changes, food, nutrition, exercise, things like that, to reduce it to the fact where you would not be considered having diabetes type 2?
There are some people that I've met that definitely get their blood sugars under control. I don't know if you know, I mean, as a person, yes, you'd like to say it went away.
Right.
But the potential is always there if the lifestyle kind of goes bad, if that makes sense. And some people, and this is an important part of education, some people have gotten to the point where if they don't produce enough insulin, it doesn't matter how well they eat, they still need some help with medication. And that is huge because it will suck the life out of people when they say, I'm eating the right stuff, and my sugars are still high, and I feel tired, and you know.
Which kind of brings us back in summary of everything, the events that, again, that you're having.
Yeah, so November 9th, we will have a great program, and we hope that whoever might be out there listening is there. And you could go to Hilton Head Hospital's website. We'll have information there on how to register for it, because you will need to register.
As always, it is a treat to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've learned a lot. Thank you all for joining us here on Healthy Living. Bye-bye.